Hey everyone, it's Matt, and thank you for allowing me to join you today. And we're going to get into a topic here, and we get into some topics, you and I do, about different things. And today we're going to talk about Calvinism. Now, you may or may not have heard of Calvinism. It just depends on which side of the spectrum you're on, right? What tradition you come from. Today, I want to talk with you a little bit about Calvinism. What is it? Where did it come from? How did it start? What's the whole background of it? What are the beliefs in Calvinism? I think these are questions that need to be asked within the church, and it's information that we need to know about, because maybe you've heard about these things, but maybe you don't really know a lot about them, right? So today we're going to explore a really significant theological perspective that shaped Christianity throughout centuries. I mean, for years. And this is this Calvinism thing. So come along with me. We're going to talk about Calvinism. Okay, so to get this conversation started, you have to know who John Calvin was. Okay? So he was a real central figure in the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century, right? So Calvin's teachings, in his writings, he wrote a lot like they did back in the day. He studied the Institutes of Christian Religion thing, right? So and this writing has really deeply influenced not only theology, but also some of the administrative and social structures of churches today. So at the heart of Calvinism, right, if you really think about it, you might hear something known as TULIP, right? And TULIP is an acronym that symbolizes the 5 core beliefs of Calvinism. And I don't know if they commonly use this anymore, but TULIP is a way to remember the 5 core beliefs of Calvinism. So T is total depravity. Number 2 is unconditional election. The L is limited atonement. The I is irresistible grace. And the P is perseverance of the saints. So what does all this mean? Total depravity. Well, that belief, total depravity, that belief suggests that sin has affected all parts of man's structure and everything about us, our intellect, our emotions, our free will, everything, right? It implies that without God's grace, us as humans are spiritually bankrupt, right? And we can't become one of God's own. Okay, we can't come to know God on our own because we're spiritually, morally bankrupt. So that's total depravity, okay? And depravity, it's a difficult topic in itself, but it's one for another video, but that's the T. So basically, it just suggests that we all sin, right? And humans are sinful people. And we're not capable of returning to God or finding God on our own. That's the T in in TULIP for Calvinism. Now, unconditional election. Whoo, this is a deep one. Okay? Unconditional election, if you're a Calvinist, okay, it's a belief that God chose or elected some people for salvation based on their individual merit, but out of his mercy. So this is a topic that you may or may not hear a lot of, is foreordination or predestination, right? And again, each one of these within TULIP is a much deeper video. If I did a video on each one of these things, it could take an hour for each one of them or more. I mean, some people have spent years trying to explain this stuff. Okay, so just remember though that the U in TULIP stands for unconditional election. Unconditional election. Okay, so, and that's very important to the Calvinist doctrine. Okay, so remember, T, total depravity. U, unconditional election. Okay. The L, limited atonement. You might be wondering what this means. So some people within the church call it particular redemption. Okay. But this tells us that Jesus died only for the very elect and those that God chose to save. So you see how each one of these leads into the other, right? You follow this? Okay, so ultimately, Christ died to save some people, not everybody, just some people, the elect. That's a very deep topic if you're a Calvinist. And then what is the I, irresistible grace? What is that? You're like, Matt, you're going off the deep end here. Irresistible grace, it teaches that when God calls the elect into the body of salvation, right, they can't resist it because God's grace is so powerful. That's deep, right? So when those who are elect, the chosen ones, right, when they feel God's grace and they feel this call, they can't say no to it. Okay? That's a key tenet of Calvinism. And then the P, so you have irresistible grace, and then the P is the perseverance of the saints. So you've heard the term, especially in some religious circles, once saved, always saved. This statement means that you're kind of chosen by God and you're redeemed by Christ, and you'll persist in faith and never fall away. Okay, so once saved, always saved. Perseverance of faith, or of the saints, right? I'm probably butchering this, and there's a lot of my theology professors at college that would probably correct me on some of this. And I'm sure some of you will. And if I'm wrong about any of this, please tell me, okay? Because I want to have a genuine discussion with you. But once saved, always saved is a belief that those that are chosen by God and redeemed by Christ, they'll go on in faith and they can't permanently fall away. The rest could. So, in theory, you could become unsaved under Calvinism, right? So, TULIP, total depravity, unconditional election, limited atonement, irresistible grace, and perseverance of the saints. You follow me? So Calvinism, its impact on theology, man, it goes far and wide. Far and wide. Okay, like crazy far. Calvinism does challenge, and I think in a lot of ways it enriches our faith. And it enriches God's sovereignty. It enriches the free will. It embraces the nature of salvation. Now, I think these discussions, they've been sparked for years, since the 16th century. And because this stuff is so deep, Calvinism can get very, very deep. Okay? But these debates, I think, have led to a lot of different denominations. And they've influenced Christian thought around the world. Not just in America, not just in Europe, but around the world. So, where is Calvinism today? So, Calvinism continues to influence many Protestant denominations and evangelical churches and a lot of people, right? Okay, Calvinism is deep rooted even today. Thinking off the top of my head, Presbyterians, Calvinist. Reformed churches, a lot of them are Calvinist. And if I'm totally honest, Calvinism, it forces us to wrestle with deep questions about predestination, divine will, and really enriching our faith and our understanding of the scripture. Calvinism is not bad. I am not a Calvinist, but it's not a bad train of thought. Okay? So, exploring these theological perspectives like Calvinism, it can help you and I really appreciate the rich diversity of Christian theology, whether you align with it or not. Like myself, I don't necessarily align with it, but understanding things like Calvinism, they can deepen our engagement with the Bible and ultimately the greater Christian community. So if you understand, if you ever encounter a Presbyterian or, one of the Reformed churches or whatever, right, that's deeply Calvinist, you can at least understand a little bit of where they're coming from, right? So I really want to thank you for joining me. And thank you. I probably did a horrible job of explaining what Calvinism is, but I hope I did a pretty good job of it. And I hope you really liked it. And I'm kind of new at giving out these videos, so I hope to get better with time, maybe. And with a lot of prayer and a lot of, refreshing, breaking out my old theology books. And, I hope that they get a little better over time. But I really hope that they connect with you. And if you find something in here that you like, please comment, subscribe, share it. I'd love to hear from you. Really, thank you a lot. I really, really, really do appreciate you. Thank you. And thanks for giving me the opportunity, because I'm just another fat white guy talking about religion. I mean, really. Thanks a lot. Subscribe. Thank you for allowing me to join you. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourself and each other, and be good to one another, and continue exploring your faith. Hey everybody, it's Matt here. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you have. I'm hopefully getting better at this thing, and we're diving into some really deep theological subjects. Please consider subscribing. Leave me a comment. I'm open to your feedback. If you have honest feedback, I'm open to hear it. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you again. Thank you again. Appreciate it.